What happens when a perfect family's darkest secrets explode at the dinner table on Christmas Eve? Welcome back to Crime Canvas. If you're just joining us or need a reminder of where we left off, here's what you need to know about the Morrison family tragedy. The Morrisons were Philadelphia's perfect family. David Morrison, a 38-year-old software architect earning $180,000 a year. Rebecca Morrison, his 35-year-old wife, a top real estate agent making $230,000 annually. Their 9-year-old daughter Sophie, a gifted student with a schedule packed with ballet, piano, and tutoring. And Uncle Richard Morrison, a 63-year-old retired executive worth $4.5 million. The family patriarch who seemed to hold them all together. But behind the pristine facade of their Riverside Heights home, behind the perfect Christmas cards and charity events, a toxic secret was destroying them from within. On Valentine's Day, 2023, Richard and Rebecca began an affair. For 10 months, they met in hotel rooms, exchanged thousands of text messages, and built a parallel life hidden from David. Richard spent over $400,000 on gifts and getaways. Rebecca researched moving to Switzerland with Sophie. They met 52 times in hotels across Philadelphia, always careful, always discreet. Until December 23, 2023, when David Morrison discovered a text message on his wife's phone. 9 words that changed everything. Missing you already. Those 3 hours weren't enough. David spent 18 hours methodically uncovering the truth. He recovered deleted messages. He tracked financial records. He accessed security camera footage from their own home showing Richard and Rebecca together. He documented everything with the precision of the software architect he was, building an undeniable case of betrayal. On Christmas Eve, David sent Sophie to her grandparents' house, protecting her from what was about to happen. Then he prepared for dinner. 7 guests were coming. Rebecca cooked and decorated, unaware that her husband knew everything. Richard arrived with expensive wine and a secret gift for Rebecca. The dinner started perfectly. Turkey, wine, Christmas music. Richard told stories at the head of the table while David watched, evidence folders ready on his laptop. Then Rebecca's phone buzzed with a text everyone could see. Richard, after dessert. The guest bathroom. 5 minutes. David stood. He opened his laptop, and he projected months of evidence onto the dining room wall for everyone to see. Hotel receipts, bank statements, security footage, the affair exposed in brutal detail. We left you at the moment the perfect facade shattered. Now, let's see what happened next. Chaos erupted in symphonic waves. Rebecca's wine glass shattered against the hardwood floor, spreading like blood beneath their feet. Richard lunged for the laptop with surprising agility for his age, his signet ring connecting with David's temple in a burst of pain and clarity. The Christmas tree toppled as bodies collided, ornaments exploding across the floor like shrapnel. Pastor Foster's wife began praying in tongues while Helen Carter fled next door to summon help. The struggle that followed was brief but violent. Richard, fighting to protect his carefully constructed empire, grabbed a heavy crystal decanter from the sideboard, a wedding gift he himself had given David and Rebecca. The first blow caught David across the shoulder as he tried to protect his laptop. The second shattered against the fireplace mantel as David ducked. The third never landed. David, years of suppressed rage, finally finding release, drove his uncle backward into the Christmas tree. The 9-foot Fraser fir crashed to the floor, its lights still blinking weakly through broken branches. Richard's head struck the marble hearth with a sickening crack. He collapsed among the broken ornaments, blood spreading across the Persian carpet like dark wine. Rebecca screamed, a sound that echoed through the neighborhood. She crawled toward Richard, her designer dress tearing on broken glass, mascara tracking down her cheeks. David stood over them both, blood trickling from his temple wound, the laptop still clutched in his hands. The arrival of law enforcement transformed their home into a crime scene. Officers found the front door standing open, Christmas music still playing through speakers spattered with blood. Rebecca huddled in the corner by the fallen tree, her dress torn, her perfect makeup destroyed. Richard lay unconscious amidst a sea of broken ornaments, his silver hair matted red against the hardwood. David sat in his office chair, staring at nothing, blood trickling from his temple while reciting code sequences to the empty air. Before we continue, if you're finding this investigation valuable and want to support our work here at Crime Canvas, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your subscription helps us continue producing these detailed examinations of complex cases. We appreciate every single subscriber. Detective Laura Bennett stood motionless in the doorway of 2847 Riverside Heights Boulevard, absorbing the scene before her. The perfect Christmas setting had transformed into a tableau of violence, each broken ornament and blood spatter telling part of a larger story. The acrid smell of burnt turkey mixed with the metallic tang of blood, while pine needles crunched beneath evidence markers. The 9-foot Fraser fir lay like a fallen soldier across the Persian carpet, its lights still blinking weakly through broken branches. Inherited ornaments, heirloom glass from Rebecca's grandmother, hand-painted spheres from church fundraisers, Sophie's kindergarten crafts, created a trail of destruction across the hardwood floor. No one touch anything yet, Bennett instructed her team, watching blood droplets on wrapped presents glisten in the camera flashes. 3 distinct blood patterns emerged under the forensic lights. A cast-off arc decorated the cream wall like macabre tinsel, aligning with Richard Morrison's head wound. Smaller droplets near the overturned side table matched David's temple injury. The largest concentration formed a dark pool by the fireplace, where Richard had fallen against the marble hearth. Family photos still hung perfectly aligned above the violence, their smiling faces a stark counterpoint to the chaos below. The Morrison family beamed from behind glass. David, Rebecca, Sophie, and Richard, frozen in dozens of perfect moments that now felt like accusations. David's laptop remained on the dining room table, its screen cracked but still displaying evidence of the affair. Months of surveillance compiled into neat folders. Bank statements showing hidden accounts. Hotel receipts documenting trysts. Text messages revealing intimate betrayals. The family's smart home system added its own evidence. Door sensors logging entries and exits. Security cameras capturing the evening's progression from dinner party to crime scene. In the kitchen, the turkey had burned black in a forgotten oven, filling the house with the scent of ruin. Rebecca's perfect place settings lay in disarray. Crystal glasses shattered. Name cards floating in pools of spilled wine. A half-empty bottle of expensive Bordeaux, Richard's contribution to the dinner, stood upright amid the chaos like a lone survivor. The doorbell camera from the Carter's home captured audio of the confrontation. David's eerily calm accusations. Richard's attempts at denial. Rebecca's escalating screams. First responders painted the scene in their reports. Officer Catherine Martinez described finding David in his study, bleeding but composed, reciting code sequences like a mantra. EMT Brandon Cooper recalled treating Richard, unconscious among broken ornaments, while Rebecca huddled in shock by the fallen tree, fixated on Sophie's ruined presents. The Christmas music had played throughout. Silent Night, on endless repeat. A soundtrack to destruction. Smaller details caught the forensics team's attention. A woman's shoe print in wine led to the powder room, where Rebecca had tried to hide. Gift receipts mixed with hotel bills in Richard's fallen coat. A letter to Santa in Sophie's careful handwriting asked only for her parents' happiness. The paper now spattered with evidence of how impossible that wish had become. Detective Bennett made her final walkthrough as midnight approached. In Sophie's room, untouched by the violence below, a Christmas dress hung ready for a morning that would never arrive. The detective paused, noting how the scene told 2 stories. The carefully planned holiday celebration and its calculated destruction. Each broken ornament marking the death of a family's facade. Outside, neighbors huddled in their decorated doorways, watching police lights paint their perfect street in alternating red and blue. The Morrison home's Christmas lights continued their cheerful display, illuminating evidence markers and crime scene tape with festive colors. Tomorrow, This scene would become case numbers and court exhibits. But tonight, it remained a tableau of a family's final Christmas Eve. Their perfect holiday facade shattered beyond repair. As Bennett closed her notebook, a last strand of tinsel caught her eye, glittering with blood droplets. In her 20 years on the force, she'd never seen a crime scene that so perfectly captured the contrast between appearance and reality. The Morrison home stood as a testament to hidden truths and broken facades. Each piece of evidence revealing how quickly perfect lives could shatter, leaving only broken ornaments and blood-stained presents to mark their fall. Detective Laura Bennett's investigation into the Morrison case began in the early hours of December 26th, after the crime scene technicians had cataloged every broken ornament and blood spatter at 2847 Riverside Heights Boulevard. What started as a domestic violence incident would unravel into one of Philadelphia's most complex cases, exposing decades of manipulation and deceit beneath the veneer of suburban perfection. The digital forensics team struck gold first. David Morrison's damaged laptop yielded far more than evidence of his wife's affair with his uncle. Hidden in encrypted folders were years of financial records documenting Richard Morrison's elaborate shell game with church funds. Each spreadsheet told a story of calculated deception, with transactions routed through offshore accounts and charitable foundations that existed only on paper. It wasn't just about the affair, Bennett noted in her case files. David had been tracking his wife's betrayal, yes, but he'd also uncovered a decades-long pattern of financial fraud orchestrated by his uncle. The Christmas Eve confrontation was just the tip of an iceberg that would sink half of Philadelphia's social elite. Interviews with church board members revealed a pattern of complaints against Richard Morrison, all quietly buried by strategic donations and careful manipulation. 3 former secretaries described inappropriate advances, each incident followed by generous retirement packages and relocations to distant cities. The church's financial records, when properly audited, showed millions in unexplained transfers disguised as charitable works. Rebecca Morrison's interview in custody proved illuminating. Between sobs about Sophie's ruined Christmas, she revealed a calculated seduction that began long before her marriage to David. Richard had mentored her since college, grooming her with expensive gifts and career opportunities, positioning her perfectly to marry his nephew while maintaining their secret relationship. He said he could make me everything I wanted to be, Rebecca told investigators. The perfect wife, successful realtor, respected socialite. He knew exactly which strings to pull, which dreams to dangle. By the time I realized I was trapped, the web was too thick to break. The financial investigation expanded like ripples in a poison pond. Richard Morrison's retirement from corporate life had been prompted by internal whispers of embezzlement, quietly handled to protect the company's reputation. His widow's death 5 years earlier raised new questions. Her life insurance policy had been changed just weeks before her accidental fall. Background checks on Richard revealed similar patterns in 3 other cities, each time ending with hasty relocations and generous settlements. The FBI joined the investigation when connections to known money laundering operations emerged. Richard Morrison, pillar of the community, had been playing a much longer and darker game than anyone suspected. Assistant District Attorney Monica Jefferson took charge of the prosecution, building separate cases against both Richard and Rebecca Morrison. The charges read like a legal textbook: attempted murder, aggravated assault, financial fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and tax evasion. The evidence filled 19 bankers' boxes, each document revealing new layers of deception. The preliminary hearing drew media attention that rocked Philadelphia's social circles. Richard Morrison, still bearing scars from Christmas Eve, appeared in court looking every bit the wronged patriarch. Rebecca, designer clothes exchanged for prison orange, couldn't meet David's eyes across the courtroom. David himself sat stoically beside prosecutors, Sophie's photo clutched in his hand like a talisman. The criminal trial began in June, transforming the courthouse into a media circus. Church members testified about years of financial manipulation disguised as religious charity. Business associates revealed patterns of blackmail and fraud. Former Mintz described Richard's predatory pattern of grooming young women, adding sexual assault to his growing list of charges. The verdict, when it came, fell like thunder through Philadelphia's social world. Richard Morrison, once the epitome of success and respectability, received 32 years for financial crimes and attempted murder. Rebecca, turning state's evidence, got 6 years with possibility of parole, losing all parental rights to Sophie. The civil judgment stripped both of assets, with millions ordered in restitution. David Morrison emerged from the legal proceedings with full custody of Sophie, his own reputation battered but intact. The court recognized his Christmas Eve actions as justified given the circumstances, though mandated anger management counseling and ongoing psychological support for both father and daughter. The dismantling of the Morrison family happened in precise legal increments. Sophie's childhood home sold at auction the following spring, its pristine facade unable to escape the stigma of that Christmas Eve. The perfectly manicured lawn where she once built snowmen became a testament to abandonment, as prospective buyers shied away, whispering about bloodstains and broken promises. Custody arrangements crystallized with clinical efficiency. David Morrison gained full custody of Sophie, the court citing Rebecca's planned escape to Switzerland as evidence of flight risk. Their new home, a modest colonial across town, deliberately lacked a formal dining room or space for Christmas trees. Sophie's therapy sessions became the only fixed appointment in their reconstructed lives. Children in these situations often blame themselves, noted Dr. Claire Anderson, the child psychologist who worked with Sophie. They see the chaos and assume they should have been able to prevent it somehow. Sophie carried tremendous guilt about that Christmas Eve, even though she was safely at her grandparents' when everything fell apart. The therapy focused on helping Sophie understand that she bore no responsibility for the adult's choices. That the perfect family image had always been an illusion, carefully maintained by people who should have protected her instead of using her as a prop in their elaborate deception. David's recovery took different paths. He threw himself into being present for Sophie in ways he'd never been before. The late nights at the office stopped. The business dinners ceased. He became a room parent at Sophie's school, attended every ballet recital, learned to braid her hair for dance class. But the scars ran deep. Trust, once shattered so completely, doesn't rebuild overnight. He started therapy of his own, working through the betrayal, the violence, the realization that the family he believed in had been a carefully constructed lie from the beginning. I blamed myself for not seeing it sooner, David told his therapist in sessions that were later documented in court proceedings. Every sign was there. The late meetings, the expensive gifts, the way they looked at each other. I chose not to see it because seeing it would have meant destroying Sophie's world. Turns out, I destroyed it anyway by waiting too long. The Morrison case rewrote Philadelphia's legal landscape. New church financial oversight regulations were implemented statewide. The FBI established a task force specifically to investigate similar long-term fraud schemes hiding behind charitable facades. The divorce became a landmark case in Pennsylvania, family law regarding parental rights in criminal conspiracies. Grace Presbyterian Church underwent complete restructuring. Pastor Foster resigned, citing his failure to recognize the warning signs. An independent audit revealed $8.7 million in missing funds, traced through Richard Morrison's elaborate network of shell companies and fake charities. The congregation split, with many families leaving to start fresh elsewhere, unable to worship in a place that had harbored such darkness. For Riverside Heights, as a community, the Morrison case became a watershed moment. The perfect facades began to crack as neighbors started questioning what else might be hiding behind closed doors. Support groups formed for families struggling with similar issues of abuse, manipulation, and financial control. The community learned, painfully, that wealth and social standing provide no immunity from human darkness. Sophie Morrison, now a teenager, has never returned to that house on Riverside Heights Boulevard. She doesn't celebrate Christmas Eve anymore. David respects this boundary, finding new traditions that don't carry the weight of that terrible night. They light candles on Christmas morning instead. Small flames of hope in the darkness, Sophie calls them. In interviews conducted for this documentary, David Morrison reflected on the lessons learned from that Christmas Eve. I thought I was protecting my family by maintaining appearances, by not confronting what I suspected, by trying to fix everything alone, he said. What I learned is that secrets are poison. They corrode everything they touch. The truth would have been painful, yes, but the explosion that came from years of hidden truth was catastrophic. Detective Laura Bennett, now retired, keeps the Morrison case file on her desk as a teaching tool for young investigators. This case taught me that the brightest facades often hide the darkest secrets, she explained. We're trained to look at crime scenes, at evidence, at facts. But sometimes we forget to look at the spaces between the facts. The perfect Christmas card photo that required 3 hours of preparation. The charitable donations that served as payment for silence. The family dinners that were actually business meetings in disguise. Rebecca Morrison, serving her sentence at a women's correctional facility, has written letters to Sophie that remain unopened. In statements to her parole board, she expressed remorse, though victims' advocates question its sincerity. I was weak, Rebecca said in one hearing. Richard made me feel powerful, important, seen in ways I never felt before. But that's not an excuse. I chose to betray my husband. I chose to put my daughter at risk. I chose appearances over integrity again and again, until there was nothing left but lies. Richard Morrison, meanwhile, maintains his innocence despite overwhelming evidence. From his prison cell, he continues to portray himself as the victim of a violent nephew and an ungrateful family. His appeals have been consistently denied. He will likely die in prison. For the people of Riverside Heights, Christmas will never quite be the same. The Morrison home's new owners tore down the wraparound porch where that final Christmas card photo was taken. They painted the walls, replaced the floors, tried to erase the history. But the neighbors remember. They always will. The Morrison case stands as a reminder that abuse and manipulation can wear expensive suits and live in beautiful homes. That financial control is a form of violence. That grooming doesn't only happen to strangers online. It can happen within families, hidden behind love and mentorship and tradition. As we close this investigation, we're reminded that behind every perfect facade, there are real people with real struggles. The Morrison family's tragedy teaches us to look beyond appearances, to question perfection, to recognize the warning signs of control and manipulation. If you found value in this deep examination of the Morrison case, please subscribe to Crime Canvas. Your subscription doesn't just help us continue producing these detailed investigations. It tells us that these stories matter, that understanding how perfect families can fracture helps prevent future tragedies. Every subscription motivates us to dig deeper, research more thoroughly, and tell these stories with the respect and complexity they deserve. The Morrison case file may be closed, but its lessons remain open. In a world obsessed with perfect images and curated lives, remember that authenticity matters more than appearance. That healthy families don't require expensive props and coordinated outfits. That love shouldn't come with financial strings attached. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak the truth, even when it shatters the illusion everyone worked so hard to create. This has been Crime Canvas, painting the full picture of crimes that change communities and reveal the darkness hiding behind closed doors. Thank you for watching, and please take a moment to subscribe. Your support means everything. The Christmas lights may have stopped blinking at 2847 Riverside Heights Boulevard, but the lessons from that terrible Christmas Eve continue to illuminate the dangers of perfect facades and the courage required to see the truth beneath them.